Emergency pod. It's not really an emergency. We were going to record this week. It's just about when.
Yeah. Well, I just got a lot going on and I'm, already driving all over the state. I mean, I literally have candidates from Astoria to Medford and Deschutes County, and it's just nuts. So, yeah, it's going to be a
You're
busy, busy year.
you're all over the place, and I'm barely leaving my house, and I'm okay with that.
Well, then I got to be in Salem tomorrow. We got, the Democrats are going to be passing their gas tax and spend package tomorrow. So, with no Republican votes
Are they
and zero.
actually going to pass it, you think, Brian? Is everybody going to be there?
I think so. I think that Gorsuch is good enough to show up. Otherwise, I think they would be already pushing it back, right? So I think they probably got a thumbs up that he's going to show up. So
Yeah.
that would be my theory. And I think Mark Meeks stays a yes. I think I did see that he did a town hall this last Saturday. That was pretty packed, and but apparently it was respectful and all the things that we're not used to seeing from the left, but it must have been a bunch of Republicans there, so that's why it was respectful and clean. Just kidding, my Democrat friends. Just kidding.
Listen, so usually it's the Democrats making all the news because they run the state, but this time it's not them. It's us, the Republicans. A funny story, this special session started so long ago that Republicans will go through two different leaders in that time. The special session started with Senator Daniel Bonham as the leader, and it will end with Senator Bruce Starr as the leader. The article from OPB says the Senate's 12 GOP members chose Bruce Starr as their leader. Starr spent 16 years in the legislature, starting in 99, first winning a House seat before moving to the Senate. And he took over for Brian Boquist, who's no longer in the legislature. He's been working mostly on transportation issues and is now taking up the minority leader role.
Isn't that crazy? I think, well, Bruce moved from because he was in Hillsborough, and then he lost a tough battle in I think 14, right? The Chuck Riley.
Yes, that's right.
And then him and his wife kind of moved just, gradually south over the hill there from Hillsborough to I think he's outside of Newburgh right now, somewhere kind of in that space. Dundee, maybe it's Dundee, I think is where he told me he lives. But and then, worked out well with Boquist, and that was a few years ago. And then I think with Boquist couldn't run again or decided not to run or whatever the scenarios were with Boquist. I think Boquist was done anyways, but yeah, Bruce came in kind of unchallenged and kind of picking up where he left off, I guess.
Somebody pointed out to me that his political action committee for his campaign was called the Star Leadership PAC, and so that was actually a, a precursor or kind of previewing where he was headed. And I didn't even necessarily think about that until they mentioned it. I was like, oh yeah, so
That's funny. No, I think that Bruce will be finally. He knows how the building works. He knows all the ins and outs, right? He knows all the stuff you need to do to run a leadership office. I think all of those sort of things are going to be, pretty easy for him to kind of just pick up and move forward. I believe that's going to make it pretty simple from that standpoint. The question will really become is, how much money can he raise? Because at the end of the day, this is campaign year that we're moving into. So it's all about the money and it's all about what can you raise to support candidates to try to pick up seats. And that's the reality. And in the Senate Republican seats, I mean, we're looking at obviously Tracy Kramer running for Kim Thatcher's seat
yep.
as Thatcher moves on to the rest of her career being a not politician, at least for 2 years. And that seat's important for us because that keeps us at 12. And then from there, you got Golden seat down in Medford, and you got Mark Meek's seat there up in Gladstone, Oregon City that we're looking at. And then you got, the other Salem seat, which I don't think with Deb Patterson running for reelection, I mean, that's the other one that's a potential. And it was 4 years ago on the table for us, when Raquel Moore Green ran, and it was pretty close. That one was always polling around 50-50, and ultimately I think the abortion stuff that came out with the Supreme Court, decision in that June of 22 really kind of started, we just saw the erosion of our Republican leads and all of our polling from that decision that summer. I mean, it just slowly eroded all the way, especially in some of those seats that were, I think, a few more government employees, a few more of those, and that was kind of what that Salem seat was. But Thatcher's seat held strong. It oddly votes pretty. The non-affiliated voters there vote pretty far to the right, even though it's a -5%, -6 percentile Democrat seat for us. So I think that one looks pretty good. The Medford seat is moved. Naturally, it's moved 2% voter registration to our advantage. So now we're only, I think 6% behind. So that means that one's in real striking distance because only lost by a couple points in 22. So, and now Randy, the county commissioner. So there's and then the Meek seat against Kennemer, he won by, I don't know, 600 votes, roughly, somewhere in there, which was I mean, that was our most expensive Senate race that we've ever had in the history of Oregon, was that Mark Meek versus Kennemer seat. They spent over $5 million.
Wow.
So we'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then another
Yeah.
piece of this is that Bonham endorsed a follow-up, a person to follow him into the Senate, or the person that he wants. Now, this will be an appointment process. I think it's split between the Hood River and Clackamas County commissions, which are not the most conservative commissions. So I think there's a potential play in this. It's not like it's automatic for whoever he endorsed, but it is House Republican leader Christine Drazan. And so if Drazan goes for it and does get it, then House Republicans will need to elect a new leader.
Yeah. And well, first off, let's talk about the appointment process real quick.
Yeah.
So I found it, I found it very interesting when a press release goes out that Daniel Bonham won't, that he's going to be resigning.
Yeah, that's the other thing. He
And
leaves his seat October 5th of this year.
so they do the quick press release. Bruce Starr elected. He steps down as leader. And then literally, I don't know what, 5 minutes after that, our good friend Ashley sends out a press release that now he's stepping down from not only leader, but as the senator.
As the senator,
And
yes.
and in the headline, he endorses Christine Drazan for his Senate seat,
Yeah.
which is, I'm just gonna say something that Daniel's probably not gonna like. I find it very odd that when you have an opportunity to take a victory lap, you literally don't, and you make it about Christine Drazan. Like, why wouldn't you step down, take a victory lap, talk about what you're doing next, all the fun things coming? But no, instead, he bows to Christine Drazan and says, please, please take my seat. I just find that oddly weird to me that his whole political career has always been whatever Christine Drazan has told him to do. And I just find that odd for him because I think Daniel politically is a very smart guy. I think he's been a good leader. I think he was fine doing all of that sort of stuff, but it always seems like he plays second base to Christine Drazan, and I just don't know why.
Yeah,
And
Helfrich had his own Representative Helfrich, who was originally running for the seat because we knew Bonham couldn't run again, so there was always going to be the election for it, and there still will be. I mean, this doesn't change the timing of that stuff. But Helfrich basically did a press release that was praising Bonham, and he said stuff like titles come and go. Now, I don't know if he was talking about himself or Bonham or both. And Helfrich didn't say whether he was going to go for the appointment or not, but he did kind of lay out some. And I think it was a combo praise. It was like, look at how well we've worked together. Obviously, knowing that that's probably the best you can do under a situation where Bonham is endorsing the other half of the district in Drazen. But I mean, shoot, I think he talked more about Bonham's accomplishments than Bonham himself did. And maybe that's just, I mean, there's a tweet here from Senate Republicans about Bonham not usually seeking the limelight. So I don't know if it has something to do with that or what. But it was an interesting release.
Yeah.
And then Drazen followed it up not that long after with the release saying she will go for that Senate seat. Now she has not in the Oregonian, I think it was, she did not rule out still running for governor, which I think is interesting because I'm not really sure what you gain by going to the Senate and then having to still decide, am I going to run for reelection in the Senate that's up this year or in 2026, this cycle, or if I'm going to run for governor that's up this cycle. And I think it would be a little bit odd to go to the Senate and then run for governor. So I think she's trying to keep her options open. I think partly because she's trying to raise money, and you have a easier time raising money as leader than you do as a regular senator, especially in a district that probably isn't crazy competitive. I mean, I think in a bad year, this could start to look like a close race, but I think it's still a Republican seat regardless. But maybe she's just trying to keep her options open to help her with fundraising. I don't know, but I do still think it would be odd to go get a Senate appointment, basically do an internship there, and then run for governor. So I expect that ultimately she'll decide against running for governor, and that this puts her in a better spot to not have to run every 2 years.
Well, that's always fun. But of course, he's on the same cycle as the governor's cycle. So it doesn't really, I mean, that part doesn't really change. She doesn't get a free run at governor. She's going to have
No,
to
she
go.
won't get a free run, but if she wants to run in 4 more years, 5 years
Yeah.
really,
Yeah.
then she does it after a term in the Senate. I don't know. I mean, there isn't necessarily an strong upward trajectory for Republicans, except for breaking the supermajority and getting back to 13. And in that scenario, I think the Senate could be more fun than the House, depending on how things are shaking out. I mean, we're at 23 right now, right? 23, because the Dems have
Yeah.
37
Yeah.
with
Since
Javity now.
Javity, yeah, since
Um,
Benedict Arnold changed. Yeah.
whew, yes. So I think that there's the potential for the Senate to be the more interesting chamber over the next couple of years, but that doesn't mean there's a lot to accomplish there for a Republican either, right? Especially since she was kind of more of a hardline fighter this time and less of a negotiator, at least in my estimation, right? Whether it
Agreed.
was Dems not willing to negotiate or her or some of both, probably some of both, right? Then I think that I don't know what there is to accomplish for her in the Senate. I don't know what her goals are. I think that that's part of maybe what she's still trying to figure out is what she wants to do. I think she wants to be governor and is trying to figure out the best path to be there is what I think.
Well, I agree with what you said, and then I would add to that she definitely doesn't want to be the House Republican leader. That is clear. So leaving that post to go to the Senate makes sense if you don't want to be House Republican leader, but you're not sure you don't want to be you don't want to run for governor yet, right? So the making the move gives you options,
Hmm.
which is kind of nice, right? So if you have 4 or 5 months to maybe see, I mean, who knows what the political environment looks like in February. So I think that gives you, but if February gives you a little better glimpse of what the next 7 months are going to look like, 8 months
Right.
versus a year, 13 months from now. So it doesn't, like you said, she can still raise money as a senator. She can still go out there. She can kind of focus on some policy stuff she wants to push for short session. All that stuff makes sense, in regards to why she would take the Senate seat. Because if the political environment doesn't look good, then to your point, and you're appointed, then you stay filed for Senate and you just move on, right? And just say, well, I'll see what comes next. So I think that's probably the calculus that's going on. And then what's I find funny about it is that, Helfrich truly is left out in the cold on this one, which is a bummer. I like Jeff. Jeff's a good guy. I think that, and then his press release, I totally wouldn't have worded it that way. Like you said, he gave, and that was my whole point. He gave Bonham more praise than Bonham gave himself praise for. I just found that odd that he spent all of his time praising her and not his accomplishments. Which, like you said, maybe he doesn't seek the limelight. I don't know, but I just think that Jeff should still go for the appointment because I believe appointment processes should be rigorous, but it'll clearly be because her whole district, over half of that whole Senate district is in Clackamas County. Because Jeff's got a portion of Clackamas County too. So that means Clackamas County commissioners,
Yep.
depending on who's there, they'll have the lion's share of the vote. And if they agree with each other, then
Hmm.
they would control who gets appointed. If they disagree with each other and the population split happens, then I think we could see some interesting things because I believe the Melissa Fireside lady, I think she's non-affiliated.
Yeah, the lady who
Um,
placed
and then
Fireside.
then you have two D's and two R's, right? So with Savis and Ben
Right.
West, which I think both Helfrich and Drazen get along with both of those guys pretty well.
Yep. How do
So
they do with Schrader and Craig Roberts, right? And
yeah,
some of the other, I think it is totally, you're right. This could be really slam dunk, or it could look very slam dunk. It usually isn't behind the scenes. But it could also get very, Diana Helm is the commissioner from
there
Clackamas
you go.
who
Yeah,
was appointed. And so she has to run again, and we heard Vanessa Hartman running for that seat as well. So in any event, there's a lot that can happen in that appointment process. You might also see more people come forward for the appointment process to try to get their name out there, knowing that they're not Drazen and Helfrich, but they want to run
yeah.
for either of their two seats. Also, I mean, Helfrich's seat is up if he runs for Senate and seeks the appointment or gets the appointment. I'm not seeing where he announces and decides to change back to reelection, but maybe he does.
He
That's
didn't.
always
He
an
filed
option.
for that Senate seat. I saw that in Orstar
Okay, all
yesterday.
right. So yeah, so he
So he's
filed.
actually filed. So
Yes.
I wonder. And you're right with the other people. I mean, what you got? Stan Pulliam. You got
James
you know
Heeb was talking about a comeback tour
James Eve.
during this session. How crazy would it be to get Drazen and Heeb after they ran a primary against each other? Drazen in the Senate, Heeb in the House. Originally, before Drazen ran against Heeb, there was Matt Bunch too. He was a
Oh yeah,
candidate that was going to run against and then withdrew.
Clackamas County Fairgrounds. I think.
Something like that, and he
Yeah.
might have had some Farm Bureau or something in there. I cannot remember his exact resume, but he's potentially at play as well. So I mean, there's a lot that could go on here. Yeah, and you mentioned sometimes known as the Stanimal to people who know him a little better. Stan Pulliam, former candidate for governor, a former mayor of Sandy, right?
Uh huh.
All of that. There's a lot that's going to happen. So you have two leaders, by the way, both chambers. Republican leaders in 3 years. Knope, Bonham, Starr, Breeze Iverson, Helfrich, Drazen, right? I mean, those poor staffs just hunkered down there trying to hang on through all these leadership transitions. I wish them the best through all of that. Not necessarily fun to have it change every session. It's
Well, I think that what we're sorry, we're in the car, so
all
gotta do
good.
my thing. But I think the key to everything is really trying to figure out we need some stability. I think that's a big piece of it, right? So how do we
Yeah.
find some stability? And I think that's important is that leadership needs stability, and I think we have to look towards some sort of stability. I think Bruce brings that to the center Republican side. I know that he's not up for election this time, so he's not around in that scenario. I think he wants to do the work, so I like the idea of finding some nice stability on our side. I mean, but we all kind of knew Bonham coming in. We knew he couldn't run again, so we knew that was a short-term deal, anyways,
Right.
right? When Tim had to move on, so I do believe we need some stability because ultimately 2030 is the prize, right? At the end of the day 2030 is when we do redistricting after the
Hmm.
2030 elections. So you got to have as strong of numbers as you can. If you're not at majority, you need to be as close as you can to negotiate the most fairest maps that give you the best opportunity to win going forward. And I think we always got to have that on the back of our mind on the prize, right? That's the prize. That Democrats know it, we know it, the power of the gavels know it. It's all about 2030.
Yep,
So you can win
absolutely.
everything in 2028, and if you lose it all in 2030, it doesn't matter.
Absolutely true. Last two pieces of news, too, as we're kind of keeping people updated on filing. Democrats have at least one candidate in Senate District 11 against Tracy Kramer. At least if I'm remembering this right here. I
Yes.
think Virginia Stapleton, who
Payroll tax Stapleton, yes.
ran against Mannix, is the one that filed uh, against Kramer. So it'll be interesting to watch that race. Does Munoz still get into that race for Senate? Right? What does she decide to do? That's the biggest
Oh,
question on that front.
no, that tells me that
They're coordinated.
Ben did a good job of keeping Munoz in the house. And I think Stapleton was like their backup plan, right? So it's fun to be a backup plan, Virginia. I'm sure that's probably was fun conversation, but she probably didn't want to run against Mayonnaise again, right? So that didn't work out so well. So might as well try for the other one. But yeah. Interesting. I would love to know the inner workings there. Ben Bowman will never come on and tell us his inner workings, but
That's all
maybe
right.
maybe someday when he's not in the
Yep.
legislature, we can rehash.
And then
You
two
know,
more. Junker is running for governor, except it's not Dwayne Junker, it's Tim Junker, and it's spelled Youker. So it could be Euchre instead of Junker, but I just thought it's funnier to say Junker for governor. So
yeah, it's a
uh,
hot take.
I have no idea who this guy is. I was gonna try to click in on his thing and see who he is. But while I'm doing that, Adam Baker also. So very close election 2022. Adam Baker has filed for the now open House District 40 being vacated by Anessa Hartman. Hartman beat him in a very close race 4 years ago. So he's back now and probably a pretty good choice for Republicans. Probably has some name ID left over, and people that are still, from that area and maybe participated or voted in that campaign will remember the close election and be energized by that, I think. He says he's from his educational background is Catholic school and altar boy, and then Army National Guard. He's worked in banking. He's been a journeyman, a business owner, graphic arts. This guy's done everything. Nonprofit director, governor candidate. Man,
Are
Tim
we talking about Yunker,
Yeah,
Yoker,
Yoker.
Yoker,
Yeah.
Yunker? I just think Yunker for governor. We just got to know that.
Yunker for governor. Yes. It'll be interesting to see.
Rep Yunker will like that. Well, you all are welcome for Adam Baker. So Adam and I are working together on this one. Adam
Very
was
nice.
he's a good friend, great candidate back in 22. I think when Anessa announced she wasn't running, that changed his world. He retired from the police department,
Mm.
and his wife's still working there in Oregon City. She works at the jail, I believe. I think she's still at the jail. So she's in law enforcement, and he's got a little bit more time to campaign and do some things and be involved a little bit more, and has been since he retired and from the police force. And he's just decided that he just didn't want to sit on the sidelines, and he thought about running again in 24. I just, he was in the midst of like trying to finish up his retirement and everything, and then it just wasn't.
Yeah.
He knew he wasn't gonna be able to put his time and effort into it, and so, which turned out to be probably a good decision. And with Vanessa leaving and opening up the doors there, I think he sees a better opportunity there than running against Anessa, because Anessa, like we even ferreted it out with her last week, right? I mean, she's a damn good candidate, and she proved it that she's a pretty good state representative and votes with her district, and she's moving on to commissioner, and even like she said, even toyed with the idea of filing as an independent, right?
Yeah.
So She's really moved from, I would say, far left, from Gladstone City Councilor far left to more kind of centrist. Maybe centrist left is what I'd call her now. But she's definitely moved the knee, which would make her very formidable as an opponent.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah.
So we like the I like more of the Antifa kind of candidates to run against.
Well, we will see what Democrats come up with, or if they don't have anything besides Charles Gallia. So, um,
So no, we're good with Charles Gallia. Let's go ahead and stick with him. I think that'll work. Chair of the
excellent
Democrat
recruiting
Party. Yeah.
by Majority Leader Bowman. Absolutely.
I'm not sure. I'm going to speculate because I'm pretty sure he never made that phone call.
I think you may be right. Charles is
Unless it was the
a
please don't run.
self-starter. He's a self-starter, is what we'll
Oh,
say.
yeah. Well, that's good.
Good for him. Well, I mean, that basically covers
What about
everything
House?
that
So we didn't
matters.
House Yeah, the Senate's good. A House Republican leadership. So they're going to vote during Ledge Days. Apparently, that's the word on the street.
Oh, geez.
Uh,
All right. Well,
so
that's
they're going to
pretty
have
soon.
because if she steps down to go, to the Senate to try to get that appointment, I mean, you can't. The leadership in the House can't wait to see if she's going to get the appointment, right? Because if she doesn't get the appointment, that means she's probably running for the Senate. So
Right.
regardless, she steps down, and moves on, which is all well and good. That means we need a new House Republican leader, and I haven't seen any press releases or anybody say I'm running for House Republican leader or I should be House Republican leader. So really, it's all rumor mill at this point. And I think the natural ones that come to my mind is the deputy leader Lucetta Elmer
Right.
and Shelley Bossart Davis. Potentially, she's ran for leader before, and Ed Deal. So those are and I think maybe, I mean, also Virgil Osborne could be a potential. He's the whip, right?
Yeah, I
So,
think so.
I
Yeah,
mean, there's some of those folks in leadership. So,
I think the biggest thing about this one is that's not obvious who's going to succeed, and I think that makes it more interesting, and also makes it tougher, I think, for House Republicans if there isn't somebody obvious to pick up the mantle, right? Like everybody knew in the Senate it was going to be Bonham next. It was just about who, or about when, really, not
yeah.
who. So here it's a lot more about who. Nobody knows who. There isn't an obvious person. So yeah, no, that'll be. I mean, that's another piece of
I,
this.
I know that Vicky has been asked by a few state representatives if she would take it on again. And of course, she has no real desire to do that. She wants to win, and if the House Republicans, of course, wanted to win elections, she should be the leader. But if there's not I just the amount of work it takes to be a minority leader in the House, the amount of campaigns you have to be involved in. I mean, the sheer amount of work is insane. And when Vicky was leader there for a couple of years, 2.5 years, 3 years, I mean, the amount of work that she was putting in, traveling all over the state, and the amount of fundraising phone calls. I mean, we were flying all over the country too because I was working for Tim at the time too in the Senate. So we were going to raise money in DC and Florida and Colorado. I mean, wherever the national things were, and then we're all over the state doing presentations and blah blah blah. I mean, it's a ton of work.
To do it
So
right. To do it
to do it
right,
right,
it is a ton of
yes,
work. Yes, you can
yes,
make it less work, but I think you're not going to be able to deliver, especially like you're talking about on the fundraising side, without doing. I mean,
no,
fundraising is just hard. There's no way. There's
yep,
there's no easy way to do it. The Dems can pick up the phone and have millions of dollars show up, and we have to make 500 phone calls and do 50 events to make that same amount of money materialize. So,
yeah. Tim
uh,
and Tim and Vicky raised about $16 million
that's crazy.
in 2022, and I think Bonham and Helfrich raised like three.
It will be a long time, I think, before that record is broken. And if you inflation adjust it, it may not be broken ever. So yes,
Yeah,
that's
our ability to raise money during 2022 was this, but it was born out of hard work. So my theory is like if some whoever's going to run for leader, the questions that they should be asked is really like, can you dedicate 60 hours a week to doing this job? Because if you can't, they shouldn't elect them, because that's what it takes. And I know that's what I mean. I would be on the phone with your dad until I mean I would always tell him I have a hard out at 9 p.m. because that's when I go to bed.
yeah, yeah,
um and he
exactly.
would stay up till like 11 or 12,
Oh
but I'm
goodness.
an early, but I'm like, but I'd be on the phone with him, till 8:39. I mean, probably two or three times a week,
Yeah,
and the weekends, and we would be strategizing, and we were putting together presentations because we were given two or three presentations a week sometimes to
goodness.
people and Zoom calls. Like, I don't know. And yet we only picked up, what, four seats, right, total between the House and the Senate. And we came dang close, but it we need another probably 3 or 4 million bucks.
Yeah, yeah.
So my thing is, if you want to fight in that fight, you got to figure out a way to get yourself to $20 million. So
And I think the trap that you can easily fall into here is picking a leader that shares your ideology. And that I can't emphasize enough how little that matters what the ideology of the leader is. If the leader's bought into winning, if the leader's bought into helping the caucus, protecting their caucus
yeah,
members, they can be effective. And the Republican, whatever we can get past is what will go forward, right? If your most important thing is the ideology of your leader, you've already failed. You've already
yeah,
failed the test. Don't even submit a vote. Don't even get involved in the leadership election because you are not helping. This is a position about caucus positioning. It's about messaging and it's about winning. And if you can be right on all the issues and wrong on all the strategy, and you'll
yeah.
be the least effective leader of all time. So
And of
don't.
those 23 Republicans, I mean, now that Javity's not there, I mean, he was clearly the moderate, now clearly the Democrat amongst the Republicans. But I mean, the rest of them are all, they're all pro-life conservatives. Like, I don't, so ideology shouldn't really play into it. I mean, I think people get a little
I think
wonky
some
with
of them think
Mannix,
they're a
but I
lot
mean,
more.
Mannix is a pro-life guy. I mean, I
Sure,
don't,
but I think
they're
a
all,
lot of them, some of them think that they're a lot more conservative than these guys, and it just like on the continual spectrum, they just aren't. Like there
yeah,
actually isn't that much of a difference, but they are looking for the most minuscule difference to
I
it's
know,
it's just like the Freedom Caucus at the federal level. Those guys, the
totally.
number one thing they care about is losing. That's their goal. They love losing. So if you love losing, stay out of the leadership election.
Yep. Yep. If they'll burn it all down for that just so they can control the ashes,
Yeah,
man.
that's totally right. And
Uh,
and that's sad because that's not what Oregonians need and it's not what's going to bring balance to the state, but
yep, I agree.
all right. I'm not even Brian, I'm not even putting our music on this one. I'm just sending it. It's an
Nice.
emergency pod. We're getting it out there.
I like it. Send it. And I will see you. Are you going to be there tomorrow in the Capitol for the historic Democrat vote to raise Oregonians' taxes?
Uh, Only if there's word that it could go really poorly. Then I'm
All
interested. If it's going to be
right.
boring, I'll just stream it online.
I'll be
Um,
there. I'll give you the blow by blow if I see anything blow up.
Sounds good. I love it.
All right.